In this video, we're going to look at how to convert between grams, moles, and particles of a substance. So when we go from grams to moles, this is just like what we were using before, so we're going to use our molar mass to do that conversion. And when you're going from grams to moles, you're going to divide by the molar mass. When you're going from moles to grams, you're going to multiply by the molar mass. So this is nothing new. We've done this before. Now to go from moles to particles, we're going to use Avogadro's number. So when we first talked about the mole, we talked about this number 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. So we're going to use that number instead of molar mass to do that conversion. We're going to use that same number no matter which direction we're going. Now, if we're going from moles to particles, 1 mole has 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles. So we're going to multiply to get to our number of particles. And to get from particles back to moles, we're going to divide by Avogadro's number. So if we wanted to go all the way from grams to moles to particles, we'd first take our grams, divide by our molar mass, then we'd multiply by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. So there would be 2 steps for that. So let's walk through a couple examples. Example 1, convert 0.3 moles into atoms. So Avogadro's number, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, applies to any type of particle. So it applies to both atoms and molecules. Okay, so we're going to take 0.3 moles, and we know that 1 mole has 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles, or in this case, atoms is the more specific number. So my units cancel. So I'm going to do 0.3 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Now, just as a hint, suggestion, recommendation, when you type this into your calculator, I always put parentheses around my 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. That just ensures that your calculator is doing the order of operations correctly. So I'm going to type in 0.3 times, and then I'm going to put in parentheses 6.02 times 10, and then on your calculator, it's this little caret key, or it looks like an arrow going up. That is your, that's going to give you your exponent. So I have 6.02 times 10, and then I'm going to do my little arrow up to the 23rd, and then close my parentheses. So that just makes sure that order of operations happens correctly. Okay, and then that's what my calculator spits out at me. So I get 1.806, and then E just stands for the times 10, and then whatever comes after it is the exponent. So if it says E23, that's times 10 to the 23rd. So I'm going to write 1.81, because I'm going to round, times 10 to the 23rd atoms. Okay, now if I want to go the other way, for example 2, I want to go from atoms to moles. So I have 4.3 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. I'm going to put 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd on the bottom. And 1 mole on top. So my units cancel. Now again, when I type this into my calculator, I'm going to put both of these in parentheses, separate parentheses, just to make sure that it does order of operations correctly. Okay, so I'm going to do parentheses 4.3 times 10, and then the arrow 23rd. So that's what it looks like. And then I'm going to do divided by, and then parentheses again. So there's my divided by in parentheses. 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Close my parentheses, and then I get my number, my answer. Oops, that moved a little fast. My answer out at the end. So I get 0.71 moles. So it's very similar to our mass and mole conversions, just instead of using molar mass, we're using Avogadro's number, so 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Now, just to mix it up, let's throw in another step. Let's say I have 10 grams of carbon, and I want to figure out how many atoms are in 10 grams of carbon. So I'm going to go grams to moles, then to particles. Okay, so I can set this up all in one long setup. So I have 10 grams of carbon. I know I want my grams on the bottom, and I'm going to put 1 mole on the top. The molar mass of carbon, we're going to look on our periodic table, is 12.011. And so this gets me to moles, and then I'm going to go to particles. So I'm going to put 1 mole on the bottom, and I'm going to put 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms on the top. So grams cancel and moles cancel. So when I go from grams to moles, I'm using my molar mass. When I go from moles to atoms, I'm going to use Avogadro's number. So when I type this into my calculator, I'm going to do 10 times 1 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Take that whole answer and then divide by 12.011. So 10 times 1 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. And then I'm going to leave that number in my calculator and then just hit divide by 12.011. And so I get as my answer 5.01. Now my calculator says E23. Remember, that just means times 10 to the 23. So 5.01 times 10 to the 23rd. So that's how we go from grams to moles to particles.